Hi, this is Melissa Manchester, and you lucky people, are listening to TV Confidential.
Ed Robertson welcoming you back to TV Confidential radio talk show about television. Very happy to welcome Ms. Kiki Ebsen. Kiki Ebsen, youngest daughter of Buddy Ebsen and an accomplished singer, songwriter, musician, and artist in her own right. Kiki's music combines elements of jazz, pop, classical, and rock and roll with beloved standards from the great American songbook. She also does covers of classic rock songs and performs her own uniquely original compositions. Kiki has released 9 albums of her own. Plus, she has performed on and or contributed to more than 24 other albums. Earlier in her career, Kiki Ebsen performed as a vocalist and keyboard player in support of such Grammy award-winning and platinum-selling artists as Christopher Cross, Al Jarreau, Tracy Chapman, Michael McDonald, and Boz Scaggs. She has performed on television many, many times, both as part of the Al Jarreau Band and alongside such artists as Blake Shelton, Glenn Campbell, Gloria Estefan, Kenny Loggins, Melissa Etheridge, and Dolly Parton. Plus, she was vocal arranger and co-music director for Lifetime TV's Women Rock music specials. If you're listening to us in Southern California or plan on being in the LA area over the coming weeks, Kiki has several live performances coming up in July and September, which I'll tell you more about in just a second. Kiki Ebsen, welcome to TV Confidential.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
From what I've learned about you, you are a classically trained singer who studied at Cal Arts, California Institute for the Arts. But I understand that while you were trained in the classics and encouraged to pursue a career in classical vocals and concert piano early on in your career, it was important for you that you determine your own path.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I asked that question to set this up. One thing I've learned about you is you are an independent spirit. You've always been an independent spirit. And that plus your skills as a musical artist to begin with, those are 2 traits that you share directly with your father.
That is true. That is true. He was very independent and made his way in a difficult time in the world.
Yeah, I mean, he could have, at a time when it was conventional wisdom to sign a contract, if you wanted a career in motion pictures during the days of the studio system, it was conventional wisdom that you sign a contract because at least you know what you were going to do for the next 5 to 7 years. And Buddy said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be tied down to anybody.
Yeah, but that, there was a setup to that whole situation, too. That came after a really rough time with the Wizard of Oz and the whole makeup debacle. And so, but yeah, I mean, I think that would be him anyway. He just pretty much did what he wanted to do, and he was incredibly successful, even doing that, even though he turned down people like L.B. Mayer and said, I'm not going to sign your contract. I'm not going to be a prisoner of the studio system.
And yeah, as we mentioned before, you've always been your own person, and while that's something you got from your father, I understand that when the time came for you to pursue a career in music, he didn't push you. I mean, just because he worked in entertainment, he didn't push you to go into the arts. He let you make that decision yourself.
Yeah, he saw my aptitude for piano, because I actually was a pianist before I sang, so I wasn't really singing until kind of my early 20s, which is interesting. But I've always played piano, so he pushed me to be a jazz pianist. And also, when I did start to sing, he wanted me to go more into like the standards and more into jazz. And while he definitely didn't push me into acting or anything like that. I mean, that was kind of a crowded profession in my family because my mother had a theater and my sister was an actress, and it just seemed a little crowded for me. And I really resonated with music. So he did let me make my choices, but he did have a few opinions about what kind of music he wanted me to do.
And as we mentioned in our open, what are the shows that's in the works in the next couple of weeks? Is an evening of jazz standards, which I understand is the kind of music he had hoped you would sing early on in your career, but eventually we all have our own process, and sometimes it takes a while to get to the point where people say you should have been at before. But the fact that you've come to sing the standards now and embrace them and embody them, to me, it's a richer experience for you to have gone through that process yourself.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, for me, being an artist is a lifelong journey, and not only did I have, it's not that I didn't have an affinity for it, I just didn't know how to sing it. You know, I really felt I could sing my songs the best, because I was telling my story through my songwriting, and that's how I got through my 20s and 30s, and and so on. And then I got to a point where I was, I'm older, I'm wiser, I've had more life experience, and those standards are so brilliantly written that you can take a simple melody and lyric, and it becomes your story. You can make it your story. But I think that comes with the wisdom of life and experience. So I felt at some point after my dad had passed that I could do those songs justice, and then the impetus was to pay homage to him in the songs that were in the shows and movies that he had been in, and just do it as a posthumous Father's Day gift. That's how I came to record Scarecrow Sessions.
Scarecrow Sessions is one of many albums that Kiki has recorded. You can find Kiki's music wherever music is sold, as well as KikiEbsen.com. Kiki will be performing a night of jazz standards and stories at, I got the name on, it's the G Spot, right?
It is the G Spot.
Okay, no, I wrote down this is a Freudian slip. I mean, I wrote down the spot, but no, I didn't realize it's the G Spot.
It's the G Spot. So the G Spot is a private jazz salon in Mount Washington. It's actually in a really beautiful home up in the hills. And it's owned by a guy named Alan Goldman, who's a really great musician, and he's been hosting jazz and performing little jazz ensembles for a long time. And it's just the most place to go hear music, and it's open to the public, but it's a very limited seating, so it's a really unique experience. It's been wonderful.
Yes, okay, and if you want to see Kiki perform at the G Spot in LA on Sunday, July 6th, beginning at 7 p.m., email Kiki at KikiEbsen.com, and she will provide you all the information you need as to the location, the venue, as well as tickets and all that stuff. Kiki Ebsen will also perform her Joni Mitchell Tribute Show at the Festival of Arts Pagent of the Masters in Laguna Beach, California, Saturday, July 26th, beginning at 5:30 p.m. She'll also be part of the Jarreau Band Reunion Show at Southcoast Winery in Temecula, California, Sunday, September 14th, beginning at 7 p.m. For details on these other events on Kiki's calendar, go to the calendar page at KikiEbsen.com. You can follow Kiki Facebook, Twitter, as well as KikiEbsen.com. What can people, for those who are going to see you on July 6th, what can people expect to see?
Well, I'm going to do, I'll do some standards. I will do a few kind of rearrangements of some of my favorite tunes. I love to kind of take some Joni Mitchell and put it with this quartet that I'll have, and they're all really seasoned jazz musicians. I have Jeff Colella on the piano, and I have an acoustic bass player named Chris Colangelo. I have an incredible jazz guitarist named Steve Cotter, and a brilliant jazz drummer named Ken Bouquet. And so they will take my, some of the tunes that you might have heard in more of a pop arrangement and set it to a jazz tonality. And then we'll do a few songs from To Dad With Love, a tribute to Buddy, my dad's tribute show. Mm-hmm. So there's some songs that are from Scarecrow Sessions that we will also do. And with that, I will tell a few stories about my dad and about his career. But it's more than just my dad's tribute. I get to kind of explore the jazz realm, and there's a lot of improvisation. And what's nice about it is you don't really know what's going to happen, because with that kind of genre, you have a roadmap, and then you let the musicians explore, and then I get to explore vocally. And it's because everyone kind of gets wrapped up in the moment of the music. It's very present, and the backdrop is a wide open window of the city at night, of the city of Los Angeles at night. So it's quite stunning.
So you anticipated one of my questions. This is the creative in me. I like to ask, because I write when I don't do the show. I mean, I like to ask this question to creatives, to performers such as yourself, about how do you put a live show together. And if I'm hearing you correctly, a lot of it has to, sometimes it has to do with the venue. Sometimes it has to do with the performers, the other musicians you'll be working with. You may pick songs that are in your sweet spot, but that you also know the other musicians, can play as well, so that it all comes out sounding as rich and marvelous.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I have done already several shows, from my dad's show to my all-original show to a hybrid show that has like some of everything in it, and we all had different musicians. So you pick the tunes that are going to showcase your musicians. You pick the tunes that are going to also showcase you as well, and provide the audience with a variety of music. You want to do some fast, some slow, and you want to have a flow to the set. And if you can tie it together with stories in a way that's really organic and smooth, and if there's some humor involved, you're going to capture your audience's attention. My dad was really great about, we always did these little vaudeville shows in between when he wasn't working. We'd go entertain, the troops down at El Toro Marine Base, and go to senior homes like Motion Picture Country Home, and we'd do shows. And he'd bring in my sister and I and my brother sometimes, and we would sing and tap with him a little bit. And he would just put the show together pretty much like the hour before we went on. Because he had all these little bits, and it terrified me, because I was like, what are we doing? And he'd write it on a piece of cardboard, he'd put it on the stage, and we'd just go into it, and he'd improvise. You just talk to the audience with a lot of, obviously, experience. But it's a lot of how I present myself now. I have a lot of experience, I have a lot of stories, a lot of songs, and we just tie it together, and I think the audience really enjoys the human element. And of course, if it's a jazz show, I'm going to be picking a jazz genre that showcases my band. So if I have a beautiful guitar player, I might do a duo with him, just him and I on Easy to Love, or we'll just do stuff it's natural for them, and then we'll rehearse a few things and have a little fun.
Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
One more item. If you're starting a company, particularly one that is in an emerging market, you know that averting any sort of legal dispute is crucial to your business plan. Our friends at Tectonic Law offer an array of services that can help you avoid and preempt future litigation while also developing and protecting your intellectual property and intangible assets. Tectonic Law serves the needs of a host of emerging industries throughout California and beyond, including industrial designers, beverage makers, artists, farmers, retail stores, health practitioners, wellness experts, cosmetics manufacturers, nonprofit organizations, innovators in sustainable practices, and libraries. Go to tectoniclaw.com to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.
Hi, this is Linda Pearl, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
And the seasons, they go round and round.
Kiki will be performing her Joni Mitchell Tribute show at the Festival of Arts Pageant of the Masters in Laguna Beach, California, Saturday, July 26. She'll also be part of the Jarreau Band Reunion at Southcoast Winery in Temecula, California, Sunday, September 14th, beginning at 7 p.m. Details on these and other events, go to Kiki's calendar page at kikiebsen.com. This is the chicken and the egg part of the interview. I like to ask this question of people that I know who write songs. That's a skill set that I admire and envy, because a songwriter has to tell a story with the beginning, middle, and an end in less than 3 minutes, sometimes less than 2 minutes. And so people who can do that, I admire. But I always like to ask this question: what comes first, Kiki? The lyric or the tune, or does it depend on what you're writing?
Well, that's a great question. I would say typically the music for me comes first.
Do you think do you think in notes, or do you think, or does what sparks?
No, I think in melodies usually.
Well, okay. Well, so will like an experience, come up, and somehow a combination of notes that forms a particular melody forms in your head, and then you put that down, or?
Yeah, I usually can hear it in my head first. Well, a couple of times actually, I dreamed an entire song. A couple of times I've written, only a few times, but if you do dream a song and it's really good, you better get up and write it, because it's really a gift. Because the lyrics came and everything, I was like, oh my goodness, here it is. It is kind of like birthing, So, but usually I'll have a melody that's just going around my head, or I'll wake up with something. Like I'll wake up with a melody, and I'll go out to the piano and I'll start playing it. And a lot of times I'll just be playing the piano, and I'll just start fall on something that I like, and I'll start playing it over, and then that'll sort of start to catch like a match, to the creative fuel. And then that'll build, and you keep trying it, and then you record a lot of stuff. You just put your tape recorder on or whatever, whatever you use. And then after that, you might be able to piece, part out, make some sections, that make sense and that can repeat, and then you figure out your chorus, and then your verses, and then if you're lucky enough to find a chorus, which I usually find a chorus first in terms of words, and then the verses are usually last.
When was the first time you realized that you could hear melodies in your head?
Oh, when I was a little girl. Yeah, little girl. I always plunked them out on the piano. When I was probably 4 or 5 years old, I was up at the piano and just plunking stuff out.
Well, as I say, it's a marvelous gift to have, and Kiki Ebsen has been gifted with that gift for pretty much her entire life. Kiki Ebsen, our guest this segment, youngest daughter of TV legend Buddy Ebsen. Kiki will be performing at the Festival of Arts Pageant in Laguna Beach, California, Saturday, July 26th, beginning at 5:30 p.m., and as part of the Jarreau Band Reunion Show at Southcoast Winery in Temecula, California, Sunday, September 14th, beginning at 7 p.m. For details on these and other events on Kiki's calendar, go to the calendar page, kikiebsen.com. You can follow Kiki on Facebook and Twitter as well. This is for what it's worth. Now, on your website, one thing I love about your website is you have the elevator speech bio, you've got the standard length bio, and then for people like me, you have the deep dive. And so I love all of that. It makes my job a lot easier in terms of getting ready for a conversation. But in past venues, you listed the Eclectic Festival in Pasadena. Which year did you do that? Because I live in South Pasadena. That's right in my neighborhood.
Oh my gosh, I probably did that, I'm going to say, close to 7 years ago.
Okay, all right, because they resurrected it about 2 years ago after the pandemic, and it was off the chart. I mean, I usually stop by and make a point of walking around at some point on the day of the Eclectic Festival, because you never know, quite literally, you never know who you're going to run into. And the first year they brought it back, it was off the chart. There were people all over the place. There were bands all over the place. Last couple of years, not so much, but that's mostly a PR thing. But anyway, that's...
Well, we were in the library. That's where we performed.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's a stone's throw from where I am. So I personally will look to see next time you're playing My Hood, if you happen to be playing My Hood, and I'll stop by. We'll play more of our conversation with Kiki Ebsen when we come back here on TV Confidential.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-222-0511. 800-222-0511. Again, that's 800-222-0511.